Today, I'm going to be talking about a controversial topic, and you have to promise me that you're going to help me out when the black tax collectors start coming for me. So it's controversial because it's a topic that can break family ties, and if you're not careful, it can cause you a lot of problems. So I know some of you are familiar with this type of taxes. We've got our council tax, VAT, corporation tax, income tax, sales tax, and so on. But this tax that I'm going to be talking about today is so powerful because it gets you emotionally, and sometimes you voluntarily pay the tax. And this tax is called the black tax. So first of all, I want to talk about my experience with it, and I also want to give you examples so we can have a bit of context, and then at the end of this, let's discuss it and see what are the possible solutions. So imagine this. Let's say you're part of a family, your parents, they really work hard, and after your education, they send you abroad, UK, USA, whatever. Usually, it's not a free ticket because it goes with a condition that when you get there, you need to be sending money back home to then, help out, sometimes even fund the lifestyle and so on. But oftentimes, these parents, they are sending their children out without knowing sometimes the realities of where they're going, because it could be that work is not as easy as they think. Just because you've had the opportunity to go to the UK or USA doesn't mean that life is easy over there. So they may not have that understanding. So what then happens is the parents or whoever sends you over now have expectations, like serious expectations. Sometimes you may be asked to build a house. Sometimes you may be asked to take, some extended fees, school fees, pay some school fees. I mean, it just depends what you need to do. But the most important thing is it is black tax. So oftentimes what happens is it works in such a way that the black tax collectors, they are very smart. They use emotion. They'll start saying things like family help each other. They'll start using things like we worked so hard for you. You're the chosen one. God chose you to be the one that is supposed to be taking care of the whole family. Sometimes it's the whole clan. And while you're sat there, you start asking yourself a question that maybe it's true because you're the only one that was able to go abroad, for example. And the weight now is now on your shoulders. So the question is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What's my take on that? And I will say to you straight away, don't look at me like someone who is anti-helping each other, anti-helping family. But there has to be a line somewhere. We need to draw a line somewhere because at the end of the day, you also have a life to live. So my stance with this is, yes, we can help family. Yes. But the help that I'm talking about personally, and I'm talking about me now, the help for me is a roof over your shoulder, food to an extent, and this applies to the parents, whether it's your own parents or your in-laws. Yes, if you have some sort of understanding that, you don't have to worry about your bills, the food, and the roof over your head. In most cases, they have houses anyway. But if not, of course, you have to some way, somehow make some sort of arrangement for that. Now, when it comes to outside that, this is where now I draw a line because people are responsible for their own decisions and their own actions. Sometimes you find a situation where an able-bodied man or a woman will have kids, 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, not go to work, but expect money coming from abroad to help with the family. How does that work? Like, I also have my own family. So the moment you question that, a button is pressed, the emotional button, boom. So we are supposed to be brothers. We're supposed to be sisters. We're supposed to be helping each other. So, the way we're dealing with this is not nice. And then sometimes there's an injection of what? Of hate and sometimes even jealousy. And you'll find that when you go and visit home, you start getting cold shoulders. You start hearing stories behind the scenes, people talking behind your back. And it can be very frustrating, especially if you're someone who loves family and wants family to unite and wants people to, to be together. So in the end, if you don't do this properly, you can be alienated to a point where you don't feel like you're part of the family. And this is the fear. And this is where now a lot of people end up paying a lot of this black tax, and they're on the high tax bracket, the black tax, they're on the high bracket because they can't deal with this situation. And don't worry, I'm going to give you a solution towards the end, okay? So it's not just me talking about the difficulties. I mean, I will give you a solution at the end. So sometimes you find that if you don't speak out, you'll just suffer in silence and pay. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later, you have nothing. Yet, you've been uplifting and paying all this tax, but it hasn't benefited you directly. When it comes now time to take care of yourself, sometimes it's too late. Maybe, you're old, you're approaching a retirement, and, this can happen very fast. Those people that you were helping out and so on, you will find that they may not necessarily look back and say, well, you know what, such and such has helped us, because they feel entitled. You were supposed to have done that because everyone else sacrificed for you to go to the UK. And what do you say to that? Nothing. But the reality of life is you have to sort yourself out. You have a life. Maybe you have kids. You're married. You have to work on your family as well. And this black tax gets in the way. So the question now is, why is it like this? In my opinion, it's a cultural thing. It's really a cultural thing. It's been done for years, and it continues to happen, but it's something that I don't practice myself. To be where I am, I don't want to be in a situation where I am forcing my kids to do things for me. No. My philosophy is I do things for my child, education, the opportunities, the best to my ability for them to have a good starting point. But I'm not doing this so that tomorrow I can then turn around and say, I sent you to school. Whose job is it? Why have the children if you can't send them to school? Whose job is it? So to even use that card, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Secondly, we need to be more sympathetic and empathetic about our children when they're starting to start their life, because we're supposed to be helping them. But you know what? We're doing the opposite. We're taking a lot from them. Now, I know I've spoken in the past about lobola and the amount of money is charged. Sometimes they're ridiculous and so on. I don't want to go into that. I want to stick to the black tax because this is something that affects a lot of people in the diaspora. So in regards to my child, I want to put them in a position where they will start on a very good step in life. But I don't want anything from them. I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but I'm saying if they want to buy me something, maybe they have done it just to show an appreciation. Yeah, I don't mind, a gift here and there, but I don't want them to work just so that I benefit from how they're working. That's not my style, and I wouldn't do that. Okay? I want to build everything that I can, and you can see, Ruwa Organic, I'm building everything that I can so that I can sustain myself in what? In retirement. So this is a do or die situation, okay? So my children are not a retirement plan. My children are not an investment. Sometimes we need to take this idea out of our heads, because it's oppressive. It's really oppressive. There's quite a few people out there who are suffering in silence because they can't confront this black tax. It's a very hot topic. Very, very hot topic because it's filled with emotions, because you can imagine someone who has saved 10, 15,000 to send you over to the UK, and then you tell them that you can't have them with A, B, C, D. It can be very, 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 very difficult. So the question now is, how do you get around this and also stay, balanced? Well, my first thing that I recommend you do is to evaluate the situation. There was a time when I used to send about £200. And we're talking about a time where there was no zig, £200. I used to send that. And you would find that after 2 weeks, it's finished. It's gone. And I thought to myself, Zimbabwe is very, very, very expensive. This was when I wasn't really visiting back home, for some personal reasons. And I did send this money for quite a while, this £200. And it was a lot of money. I remember sometimes when I used to send the money, I needed to get a confirmation that the money is sent. And then the person that is supposed to give you a confirmation doesn't even give you a confirmation, and not even a text message. And then you, the sender of the money, has to call and say, did you collect the money? Because, at that time, we used to use third parties to send the money there. So there wasn't really a world remittance at the time. And it would be very frustrating that you can't even just confirm that you've received the money. or at least that was my situation. So evaluating the situation is very, very important. So one holiday, I remember this very well because I spent 6 weeks in Zimbabwe on holiday. And I started looking at the prices. I started looking at pretty much everything to see how this 200, how far it goes. And I realized that the 200 was way too much, because in those 6 weeks, I did not spend that much. I know you can say, okay, probably it was me and my partner, and it's a different situation when they have visitors and so on, so they might spend more. But overall, I did my evaluation and I realized that $200 was a lot of money. I mean, £200 was a lot of money every month. And there's a lot of things that could have been avoided if careful planning was done. For example, you would find that you send the money, people will be buying vegetables from the streets. Now, I know it sounds like it's a little bit of money. Vegetables, for a bunch of vegetables, is like $1. And then you got your tomatoes, and then you got your onions. So let's say you're spending $2 a day on vegetables. That $2 multiplied by 30, $60 a month, just on vegetables. So that's when I started saying, you know what? We need to change the strategy here. Grow your own vegetables. So I took the initiative to buy the seedlings, grow the vegetables, and then I reduced that amount from the total 200. So it's your problem now. If you don't grow the vegetables, it's up to you. But here's a very good starting point. The climate is very good. The ground is there. The water is available. So what's the excuse? And to be fair, even someone with a very small piece of land can even grow these plants in flower pots, and it will work fine. I mean, if you go on YouTube, you see even vertical farming. You'll see so many examples. I even saw a guy growing potatoes in a car tire. Amazing stuff. So why can't we do these type of things just to lessen the burden on the person that is paying this black tax? But you'll find that no one cares about that. But anyway, so I'm looking closely, I'm evaluating, then I realize this money is not actually going where it's supposed to go. So let me start buying the groceries. So you start buying the groceries, and sometimes the groceries can also be diverted. They're given to someone else, and you don't even know what the hell is happening. But at least you know that the food side of things is covered and you're trying to fix it. So that's the first situation. You evaluate the situation. The second thing is when you're tasked to do massive projects like buying a car, extending a house, and doing all sorts of things. These are big projects. And you need to be in a position yourself to have your own thing in Zimbabwe before you start taking on big projects. Because I'm telling you, when you go back, and you really have to go back, and you have nothing, these projects that you were doing will not help you in any way. These people will forget that you've been sending that money, and you'll be on your own. I've seen this happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to every single person. Please listen to what I'm saying. I'm just saying protect yourself at all times. Protect yourself at all times, because I've heard crazy stories where people are left out to dry even after helping for 10, 15, 20 years. So somewhere, somehow, you need to develop a thick skin, whether you like it or not. And you just have to say enough is enough. I have to focus on my family. And that's what it is. But don't leave it at that, because if you do, then you're starting a war. You have to be strategic in all of this. And it's funny, I'm giving all the tips again in the same video. Anyway, you have to create money-making projects to lessen your taxes. Okay? To lessen your taxes. Create money-making projects. Because if you don't lessen your taxes, you're going to be in big trouble. Because remember, when it comes to taxes, tax evasion is a no-no. You can't evade it. Okay? There's tax avoidance, and it's totally legal. It is fine. Okay? Double check this with your accountant. Tax avoidance is good. So you need to lessen your what? Your black tax. You need to lessen it. So you have to be smart about it. Create money-making projects for the guys on the ground. But when you do it as one big project and then step away from it. And it has to come with conditions that if you don't follow through with this and you don't take it serious, you wash your hands. That's it. Because at least then you've given them the initiative. You've given the initiative to start something. So you have less guilt because you've tried to do something that generates money there on the ground. And there are so many things that generate money. Now, if that doesn't work, I'm afraid you have to apply sanctions. You have to apply sanctions. You have to apply sanctions because it'll be very difficult. And then constantly speak out. Don't just do one speech. Constantly speak out. And you have to do it in a respectful manner, in a manner that at least people can listen. Because sometimes people take it for granted that you need to be helping all these other people, but you also have a family. Who's supposed to take care of them? And in the diaspora, we work like crazy, you know? So you have to speak out. You have to let people understand. You have to let people know the reality of the situation. Sometimes some people are forced to go into an overdraft. Some people are forced to take bank loans just to please people. Now, if you do that, you are going to be a tree. You are going to be a tree. A tree can bear beautiful, nice fruits, nice leaves, provide shade. But remember, the roots go deep into the ground and that tree is stuck. You can't move around. Yes, beautiful tree, bam, it's right there. But it can't be moved around because it's stuck. So this is where you have to be very careful. You have to be free from being a tree. Because being a tree is not a very good position. Yes, it may look good in one place. Every year you're bearing fruits and so on and so forth, but you're stuck. You don't have the flexibility of movement. So I want to hear how black tax has affected you. Let me know in the comments box below, but you have to be bold. Because when the black tax collectors find out, you're going to be in trouble. And one thing that you have to be really smart about, or you need to look out on, is the fact that black tax is very easy to collect nowadays because technology, you know? So, remember I said to you they use emotional manipulation? The black tax collectors, they use emotional manipulation. Now there's tools like WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp. There was a time when I used to see a missed call, because back in the day, they used to do a missed call. There was no WhatsApp. You get a missed call. All of a sudden, you just anxiety that, oh my goodness, is something going wrong? And at that point in time, you don't have money. It was very difficult to go to the phone, to pick up the phone and see the messages, because you knew there was a problem somewhere, somehow. So that was a very, very difficult time. But now, with technology hasn't been working. In fact, technology has been working very well, for the black tax collectors, because I think they may have been playing a role in this for the technology to become more advanced, because now they're collecting the taxes even easier and they are pushing the emotional buttons much, much easier because of WhatsApp. So WhatsApp, a message will come, and if you try to ignore it, at some point, it will have those blue ticks. Once the blue tick goes and you ignore it, you're in trouble. So the communication now from the black tax collectors is now easy with WhatsApp. And you know what's even more crazy? They can collect this money much, much easier, because there's services like World Remit, Mukuru, what's the other one? Western Union, Remitly, and so on. There's so many of them. So they can collect this tax very, very easily. So I would like to say, keep an eye on this, manage it. Otherwise, you're going to end up as a tree. And also, I'd like to hear your experiences. And of course, I couldn't go a lot into detail talking about my personal situation, because it's very sensitive, as you can imagine. So I've just tried to make it a bit vague, but at the same time, giving out the necessary information. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments box below. Has the black tax affected you, and how have you dealt with it? I'm curious to know. As for me, I think I'm on top of my taxes, and I'm definitely doing tax avoidance. So let me know what you think in the comments box below. And don't forget to go to ruwaorganic.com and sign up for the community. It's a free community of like-minded people where we share ideas and also help each other out. It's a nice place. There's no judgment. It's a safe place. And trust me, if anyone is abusive in there, we get rid of them, because there's so many places where there's a lot of negativity. This is a place like home where you can speak out, get help, and hopefully this is going to uplift all of us, because we all have our down moments. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.